So today at the toy show, Richie's Toy Fair, I discovered this. And if you know this, you'll know it's the Buck Rogers 1980s Corgi Starship. And I got this at a pretty good deal because it's sort of broken. The condition of the bodywork is so-so. The sticker's missing. It's got the landing footrest thing in the front. The back part of this, it's kind of chafed off on the side. This one doesn't look too bad, but the nice thing is he had this one side by side. The back thruster on this one is looking pretty good. It's got the sticker decal on. Also, both cockpits look pretty good, the windshields. This one, unfortunately, has got this missing. So, I'm going to take these two and kind of mod it what the heck is to do have? And basically make myself one the way that I want it. The nice thing about this one here is, wham! The wings are intact and still working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these wings and make resin copies of them to use in this one. But I'm going to use one of these as the main ship and I'm going to completely mod it. And this was like a safety precaution for kids because this is not actually how the Buck Rogers ones look. They actually sharp pointed. So I'm going to take a Dremel and I'm actually going to remove this so that it basically just ends up with the two spiky things. But it was a safety precaution from Corgi back in the day. Obvious because these would be like really sharp points. I guess they could have like really rounded them off like proper, but they went with this. I'm sure it was a safety feature. I never saw a ship that looked like this in Buck Rogers that had this louver kind of thing. So yeah, let the fun begin and the hard work. The first thing I'm gonna do is I am going to drill out these rivets on both of these, and then I'll start seeing which parts I can use and what happened with these wings. Of course, I'll probably just have to take them out. They're stuck inside there. This doesn't really want to release it, but I mean, they're broken in any case. So I'm just really glad that these wings are intact so I don't have to design something. I can just, I'll just make a resin duplicates of them, I guess. Hopefully it comes out okay. Okay, so here we go, a whole bunch of spares, and for the conditions of the spares, I basically decided to do one of them in kind of like the original form. So I took the thrusters of this one and I added it to this one, which is, the body is kind of a nicer white and seems a bit more clean than this one here. So this one also got the sticker on. So I put the two thrusters on here with the two working wings. This plate still looks good, a little spring-loaded plate for the wings. Then I'm gonna leave those off and let's close this one up. Oh yeah, also removed the stand, the leg stand from this one here, sorry. And I'm gonna put it onto this one, where this one was broken, that was on here. So what I'm gonna end up with is basically a complete, I'm doing a one-handed operation here. There we go. Make sure everything clicks into place. And yeah, then I'm left with one fully functional and looking very cool. And it's this is basically original full Starfighter then, which is brilliant. I was able to basically build one without any modification. I just had to unfortunately drill these out, but I'll just use a little bit of that mixed glue, the harden, so if somebody wants to open it, well, if I want to open it, I can again, but there we go. A full Starfighter, that's brilliant. And of course the wings, let me try one-handed operation here. No. Okay, and here we go. Nice. Fully functional and looking pretty darn good. So this one I actually don't want to paint. I'm going to leave all these little marks and stuff. It's been played with and stuff, but it's in original condition, and it's a 1980s original condition. So
here we have some side-by-side comparison photos of the before.
Now this one here,
and then of course
all these spare parts, this one I'm going to actually modify.
The glamour shots and video. Now the next thing I had to do was to actually cut that safety section from the front. After seeing it for a bit, even if they had this in the original design of the Buck Rogers Starfighters, it would have actually been a cool look, but of course they opted just for the two-pointed Starfighter. But even if they left this, well, they didn't leave it, but they designed it with the louver between the two, I think it would have worked. It's kind of a unique look. When I just started cutting this, I was actually cutting it a bit close, and it's easy to take off some extra metal, but to cut into the body too much and having to fix it again, that is a whole different ball game, and it's extra work that's not needed, and it's just a headache to fix something like that. So I was cutting a bit close, and then luckily I didn't continue. I saw that and I kind of fixed my positioning, and the one on the right side, I actually made sure that I cut maybe about a 1.52 mil away from the main body, as not to grind into the bodywork. The paint that they had on these were quite tough, so I actually had to get a good paint stripper to actually remove all the paint from the initial cleanup, and here it is. It did clean up pretty well. I didn't have to do a lot of work on it. I used a Dremel and a polishing wheel, like a soft steel polishing wheel, and it cleaned up pretty well. Now the next step was to take off the wheels on those. I didn't record cutting them off, but I just cut them off of the Dremel, used the file and to flatten it, and then I fold it up using baby powder and super glue, which makes a nice hardener. You can mix it into a paste, and it takes about 2-3 minutes perhaps, unless I'm mistaken. To harden up, I know bicarbonate of soda and super glue is immediately. Then something like cornstarch and super glue takes about 15 to 20 seconds, and then the baby powder actually takes a bit longer. Now this was the first spray job I did on this one, and I used the Tamiya, the Racing White, and I went through the entire process of doing the decals of this, and I'm not sure why I decided on the Racing White. I mean, I know the Starfighters is not white. They are definitely not white like some of the other sci-fi ships that we see. They went a different route. Battlestar Galactica had more like a grey coloration instead of just the white that some of the other sci-fi series and movies their ships have. Here I used the technique of using a varnish, a polyurethane varnish, and okay, this is how it came out with the decals. And if you're doing something like this, it's a website called Toy Polloi, and I must say the scale of the printout was spot on. I didn't have to resize it. I bought the decal set and I just printed it out and it was the perfect size. So I definitely recommend them if you have decals or the need for decals for this or any other vehicle that they might have decals on. They got a fairly extensive library of decals, and I used the technique where you put a little bit of varnish on the body and then I print the decal in in a mirror image. So I put a thin layer of polyurethane varnish over that, and when both the varnish on the body and the paper gets a little bit tacky, I cut out the decal and you paste the two together. Sometimes you have to use a hairbrush on a hot setting to kind of melt the polyurethane, or just heat it up and then press it into each other to make sure that it stays, and then I leave it 48 hours to be on the safe side. Tap a little bit of water and then rub off the paper as it gets wet, and that will leave the not the mirror image but the correct image, like for numbers and letters and also designs right side up on your model. And then I just put a thin layer of varnish over that as well. So I wasn't happy with the weathering on this one, and then when I started to take off the paint, yeah, this was about the 7th time, or maybe not that many times, I think the 5th time I stripped the paint and resprayed it. Now this time round I used like a desert sand satin color spray can to get this type of color, which is a bit more accurate to the actual Buck Rogers Thunderfighter or the Starfighter. Here I'm applying the weathering by means of a cheap makeup set. It's just the eyeshadow powder, the dry powder, not the oily one. And with this particular paint, it actually had enough grip so that the eyeshadow actually stuck to the paint, so I was able to layer it very finely and shadow it correctly. So that was quite fun because it's the first time I did that. In the beginning you'll see there's 150 on the bottom of these Starfighters written in permanent marker. That was the price, and it's about $10 I paid for. Actually, the guy said I should make him a deal for both, so I gave him, I think it was maybe $15 total for both of them, and he was happy. Here again, there's some pictures on the two originals. Actually, I should just cut this out. Okay, here I am fitting the wings that I actually made from resin casts. What I did was I took the wings on the other unit that they're pretty perfect. So I use a silicone mold to do a negative of these, and then once that is done I put resin inside there and I've got 2 new wings. I didn't do the complete wings, I just did the section so that I can fasten them with glue so that they stick out the sides in the correct manner. So I didn't do a completed wings so that they are actually functional, because as you saw just now, the footrest or the landing gear, I used the section from inside this craft, and I stripped out the parts and I actually cut it up and bended and glued it together, stuff like that, to actually make it look like metal landing gear. And what I like about it is that it's actually a material that comes from within this actual craft. So it's nice to know that I was able to take that and transform it into landing gear for the ship. There I got the cockpit, and now I'm fastening the landing gear on this. So that's nice. Okay, and here's the landing gear close up. And watching got some Airwolf playing on the side here. Gotta love me some Airwolf. Okay, here I'm fixing the thrusters that I made. They were also resin cast from the original one thruster that actually looked good still. So here I just made sure that I line up the thrusters both at the correct height, because they don't have support. I drilled holes in the front, and then I put bolts in to keep them between the two upper half and lower half of the body. And here is just a look at the original complete Corgi Starfighter, which I'm really happy for, that I actually have one that looks like the toy that I always wanted since I was a kid. This one I'm not going to do any modification or custom on. I pretty much just fixed it, and that's the best feature, that the wings are still working. I'm not really going to get the rockets. I know they are on eBay, and I could probably just make some resin casts for myself, but I'm not going to do that. I just like it as a display, the way that it looks now. And now for the comparison. And here is the finished starship, the Starfighter. It's kind of difficult to get the colors right with my lighting, so this one is not the true color. You'll see at the end of this video. Yes, I think it's at the end of this video. There's a clip which I played around with the light just to get a true representation of the actual color from the Starfighter. And with the naked eye, if you actually had to see it, I think it matches up really well with the original color, especially the big mock-ups they had. When Buck Rogers and the rest of the team are in the hangar area, and there's the full-size ships. The colors of that matches up pretty well. Here's the undercarriage. Did some detailing and weathering on that, not too much. And as you can see, the wheels are gone, so that sections came out well where the wheels were, the 3 wheels. Where I removed them, it doesn't look too bad. I'm really happy with the end product. This is very close to the look of the actual craft they use, the small models that they used to film for the space flight in Buck Rogers. It looks very similar. And yeah, I'm gonna leave you to it. This is just a bit of glamour shots with rotating and close-ups of the finished ship. Please leave your comments and questions or whatever below. Thanks for watching. Okay, so it's me again. Now this is pretty much the color that the craft is. This is, I was able to get the lighting in such a way that it looks very similar to the naked eye on camera, and that yellowish tan sand color, that's the color I think of the real ships. So very happy with this and happy how it came out, and now the project is complete now just to display it next to the original toy. Thanks.